Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? In today's video we're going to finish off talking about the round of 16 matches since I did the last video, which would be from here. Oh, maybe it was from there actually. Yeah, this video I think was just about to happen, or this, as I was recording the video, this match was warming up. So we'll go from there and we'll talk about those 4 matches as well as all of the quarterfinals, and then I will do a prediction for what I think will happen in the semi-finals. Remember my original prediction months ago was a Spain-Argentina finals that's still on. I might actually have called the final, but you know, massive unshock that the top 4 seeds, apparently this is the first time it's happened, the first or the top 4 seeds in the world are in the semi-finals. So I suppose my my prediction wasn't that, you know, incredible, but I'm not doing too badly. So let's get chatting. We'll talk about the different football results, starting with this one, of course. Lots to say, and lots of other controversies and fantastic goals and shock results, etc. So we'll get going, shall we? So after the big build-up of the red card gate and all of that stuff, and Belgium being super underwhelming against Senegal, we got the situation where the USA just kind of looked exhausted, really, and Belgium were all over them, and that was quite a shock. I didn't stay up to watch it, although I did actually, you know, I watch ASMR, so obviously I have issues with my sleep, as many of us do on this channel. So I watched the first half, and then it was already 2-0. Oh no, it was 2-1, excuse me. And Tillman's free kick was excellent, but Tighetaleira has decided to start scoring for Belgium. He's not a very prolific scorer for either club, Atalanta or country, but he's got quite a few goals in a couple of matches at this World Cup, so good to him. Good for him. Vanaka scored as well, and Lukaku, I was going to say a lovely goal. The goal itself is lovely, but the build-up to it is, you know, the high pressing from Belgium, and USA were caught out. Also the Vanaka goal, I think it was a complete disaster from the goalkeeper. Yeah, the USA just didn't look at it, and I wonder how much of that was the press around the whole red card. I was saying in my last video, you know, wouldn't it be ironic if they lost, you know, 1-0 and Balogun was the player that scored the goal and he shouldn't have been there, blah blah blah. And as you can see, he actually played pretty poorly in that match, which he had been playing brilliantly. And I remember reading one of your comments last week about how Tim Ream is like God, and he obviously had a terrible game. Freeze had an awful game. Richard surprisingly had a bad game. Even Robinson wasn't great. I think only really Tillman had a good game, which was Pulisic obviously went off. He's got hugely criticised by former US players, and took a lot of brunt for the loss, which I always think isn't, you know, isn't great, but I suppose, you know, they've built him up in the press to be Captain America and all that. But apparently he did fracture his leg, and yeah, I can't remember the ex-player. I can see Landon Donovan. I can see his face. I couldn't think of his name. Landon Donovan was like, "Oh, you'd have to drag me off. You'd never be able to take me off in a quarterfinal, or a round of 16. Excuse me. Oh no, what was this? Yeah, around 16. I'd have to have broken my leg," and he did actually fracture his leg. So I hope Landon Donovan's issued a apology. But you know, talking about Belgium, they look great, and all across the pitch, much more energy, much higher pressing, much more sort of more goals. So yeah, good for them. Brazil, Norway. So I think I have spoken about these matches, come to think of it, because I remember someone really disagreeing with my take that Norway were good for the win and were horrified that I said that. And and I know that they're not listening because they were like, I'm unsubscribing to all of your channels. So yeah, they were very, very upset. So yeah, Brazil lost to Norway, and I think on balance it was about fair. I thought the Neymar penalty was extremely soft. Really glad that Neymar scored, because obviously it was his last match now. He's retired. No word on Ancelotti just yet. I hope he stays for the next World Cup. Mexico, England, we've spoken about, and again, I called that totally wrong. I think that was a stellar performance by England in hindsight. Argentina, Egypt, being that Egypt, are unfortunate to have lost, but I'm really sorry. There was no conspiracy theory. Like, I love a good conspiracy theory. I love listening to them, however absurd they are. But the fact of the matter is, Messi's just amazing, and he dragged them kicking and screaming into the quarterfinals in this match. Argentina haven't really performed well in the knockout stages to an extent, particularly when you consider they've had lower ranked opponents. There was some stat I heard today about Argentina, the first team to make it to the semi-final without playing against a team in the top 10 or top 20 or something. So yeah, Egypt were excellent, but crumbled at the end due to the pressure. And one of the complaints was the goal that was the amazing goal that Zico scored on the break. Was it Ibrahim with the run? Hassan with the excellent dribble, and then Zico with the finish. And they fouled Martinez, who was right up the other end, just outside the box. And do I think that they fouled him? Yes, unfortunately I do. When I was watching, because I watched the first half live and then I went out, and I was keeping check of the score when I was out, and I saw that result live, that decision live, and I agree, it's unfortunate. And actually I was thinking about it, there was something similar that happened in Euro 2020, which obviously took place in 2021 because of COVID, and Wales played Denmark in the first knockout and they battered us. And one of the earlier goals, we felt we were fouled in the build-up, and then there was passing in the back of the net. I think it was like Nico Williams that was fouled, and I was very confidently sat there thinking, oh, VAR's going to rule this out, because, you do check the build-up, and they just didn't, and then we lost like 4, I can't even remember now, 4 or 5-0. But at the time it was kind of crucial. We were only just losing. Yeah, we probably would have still lost. Denmark are way better than us, but I kind of have sour grapes over that, because I feel that they should have ruled it out. And I think that this decision was exactly the same, that he did step on his foot, and as such stopped him from getting to the ball. And then it was like 2 passes with an amazing dribble from Hassan, and he was in the back of the net. So Zico just picked himself up and scored another brilliant goal. And then Messi came back into it. So the final goal, there was claims of a penalty decision that didn't go Egypt's way. So much so that the Egyptian FA have complained to FIFA, asked for the referee to never referee again in this World Cup, blah blah blah. So I very eagerly watched the replay, and I was like, I saw the goal and I was like, where's this foul then? And so I watched it again, and it basically Salah's falling over in the box. Now I know I'm going to get absolutely destroyed in the comment section by Egyptians, but I know that he's an amazing player for you and everything, but there was 0 foul. It was kind of embarrassing the way he just fell over in the box and thought he was going to get a penalty. They brushed the opponent. There was no tackle on him, and he just kind of fell on his face. It was really weird, and I was like, that's not the decision that they were talking about being. I was expecting there to be like a 50-50, like should it have been a penalty. And then when I watched it, I was like, that is not what they were talking about. I was sure the way that they built it up, it's like, oh, we should have had a penalty and the other goal shouldn't have been ruled out. And I saw it and I was like, oh god, that's not a penalty, like not even slightly a penalty. So yeah, and then obviously had Salah not fallen on the floor and tried to retain the ball, they wouldn't have done the quick break that caused the goal. So I'm kind of overly critical, and I'm losing a lot of subscribers because I'm being quite frank about decisions that are made, and I'm not sitting on the fence as I usually do to not upset everyone. But I don't care. It's not a penalty. I'm sorry. I really, really wanted Egypt to win, and I'm saying this from a place of like, I was really chuffed they made it this far. I could have enjoyed seeing them in the next game had they made it through. It just wasn't a penalty. So if I were Egyptian, would I think is a penalty? Probably. Deep down I would know it's not. But obviously when it's your team, you don't see things 50-50, do you? You see them very biased. But for me, it's absolute, like, it's not even questionable. There's no penalty there. Well done to Argentina. They made it look harder than it should have been, perhaps. You'd expect the #1 seed in the world and current champion to deal with Egypt a lot easier, but I think we've seen at this World Cup that lots of teams have really played above themselves. Cape Verde, Egypt, I was going to say Morocco, but Morocco were playing exactly how we think they should. Ivory Coast, I think, have been excellent. Lots of the African teams, really. Yeah, I think that we've had quite a lot of teams do excellently, and it's been a really interesting World Cup from that perspective as well. Okay, Switzerland, Colombia, absolutely gutted. Sorry, Switzerland. I wanted Colombia to get through, and on balance, I think they deserved to get through. They were the more attacking. Switzerland are obviously extremely organised in defence. Throughout the whole of qualifying, they were very, very difficult to break down, to score goals against. That is their special skill. And yeah, they just kind of, it was quite a boring match because they just didn't attack. They had 2 shots on target to Colombia's 3, and one of the gilt edge chances right at the end from Campas, who came on as a substitute, looked really bright. He shot over the bar after a mistake. They closed down the defence, stole the ball, and he shot over the bar from really close range. And he's been told, don't go back to Colombia, because the previous player who did that in USA 94 was shot. So that some people have given him death threats. So he plays in Argentina, I believe. Maybe Rosario. Let's just double check. Rosario Central, yeah. And so he was supposed to meet up and fly home to Colombia and didn't show up at the airport, and he's kind of gone missing. So I think he should until it all calms down, because the Colombians love their football and some of them get very angry. However, Switzerland march on with this very, very organised team until the next round, and excellent in the penalty shootout as well. Okay, so let's do quarterfinals then. France, Morocco. No, I thought this was going to be a lot closer than it was. Morocco had to obviously keep it tight at the back, be really organised, and it took away all of their attacking potential, and then France ended up picking them off anyway. Mbappe and Dembele, obviously the 2 world-class talents that they have in this team, and Morocco kind of, forgive me, but went out with a whimper. I really thought that they would, they looked really tired. Maybe it was just all the extra games and the travelling. Maybe it was the fact that they didn't rotate the squad enough, and they had to play their best players against many of the teams they've been against. Obviously they've had Brazil, much harder, I think, than last time at the last World Cup. Well, no, they had Spain and Portugal. I don't know, they just kind of looked a little bit like they didn't have enough energy. I wonder if you agree with me, or that's just my opinion. So yeah, Morocco unfortunately didn't manage to get anything out of this match. Shame. I thought it would be a much tighter match, but actually France kind of weren't bothered. Very, 1 shot on target compared to 22 shots and 8 on target. Unfortunately, Morocco just kind of ran out of puff, as we say. Now let's talk about this one. So Spain were heavy favourites for this, and Belgium obviously had done really well against the USA, and fair play to them, they were in it. Again, another third goal in 2 games for to get to later, cancelling out Ruiz's goal. So it was 1-1 leading into what we thought was going to be extra time. It was 50-50, to be honest. It was a lot more Spain, obviously, in terms of possession. Also shot 17-5. But I would say, do they have the XG? Because I think that the chances themselves, only 0.34. Okay, take it back. I thought the Belgium was scaring me a little bit, because obviously I was very much supporting Spain, as I have been throughout the tournament. And yeah, I just kind of felt, oh god, Belgium are going to nick it. They're going to get a second goal somewhere. And then Super Submarino, if he doesn't start, you'll probably watch this after the France match. I'm doing it the day before the France-Spain semi-final. If Mikel Merino doesn't start, then I don't know what Luis is thinking, the manager's thinking, because he's obviously saved them again. So yeah, he came on and scored a lovely goal. Well, no, actually, his run was lovely, but it was a mistake from the goalkeeper, obviously, and what we had just seen was a tearful Courtois going off because he had injured himself and couldn't continue. And then Lamans came on, Manchester United player, and spilled the ball, and Mikel Merino pounced on it very, very quickly, like an absolute striker's mentality. He literally can play anywhere across the pitch, can't he? I think if he'd played in goals, he'd probably do a decent job, Mikel Merino. And it sort of cut, the TV cameras cut to Courtois' face, because obviously he was gutted because it might be his last World Cup. He had to come off in a really, really big game. He's playing well, and then his replacement makes a mistake that puts him out, and all the other teams out, all the other members of his team out. And obviously one mistake by a goalkeeper, it's so unfortunate you can't really hold a grudge, because if any other player makes a mistake, they're not punished as badly as a goalkeeper, and everyone makes mistakes. So I'm not lambasting the goalkeeper or anything in this situation. I just feel really sorry for him, more so for Courtois. But I was having a chat with my brother about it, and we talked about what would Belgium's team look like in the Euros in 2 years' time. I'm suspecting we won't have a Trossard, we won't have De Bruyne, we won't have Courtois, we won't have Lukaku. Where's the lineup? So, who else? Axel Witsel won't be there probably. Meunier won't be there probably. So yeah, it'll be a very, very different looking team. I think that sort of golden generation will have completely gone by the next tournament. Obviously they've got talent coming through, people like Doku, Luca Bacchio, etc. But yeah, it's going to be a really, really different looking squad in the future. Maybe when Wales inevitably draw them in some qualifying group, we might get a point against them next time, if they don't have Kevin De Bruyne playing for them at last. Okay, careful where I wish, sorry. Norway, I want to say brave. At times they were the better team. I know that obviously the vast majority of my subscribers are from the USA and England. So I'm going to be really careful. I watched the match. It was really tense, even for me as a neutral. Such a tense atmosphere. If I were English, my heart would have been beating really, really heavily throughout the match. Bellingham, obviously, I read a title of an article saying, is Bellingham now England's best player ever? He was injured or knackered in the second half, and he carried on. And so there was a tactical thing that made Norway get in charge of the match, and they obviously did score. Harry scored as well, and it was VAR ruled it off, and then they scored. Haaland pushed the defender gently, Elliot Anderson, but he fell over like a sack of spuds, and then the subsequent goal was overturned. The first example of doing it before the whistle had gone, and therefore the corner was retaken rather than give a free kick, because because it didn't happen in play, it happened before the ball was in play. So that's the first instance we've had of that. We've seen a couple of the new rules in place. We've seen a corner given for a goalkeeper holding the ball for too long. We've seen mistaken identity. We'll get to that in a second when we talk about Switzerland. And we've seen lots of examples of corners being overturned by VAR. And we've had 2 players sent off for covering their mouths when interacting with opposition players. So a couple of new rules we have seen examples of. Controversy because the first Bellingham goal, did it hit the camera wire? Did it not? Apparently the internal ball sensor, the one that detected the strand of hair in the Croatia-Portugal match, didn't detect hitting the cable, and so the watch on the referee's arm didn't bleep to say that it had hit something. So that one is apparently a bit of a myth, but other people like the manager Solbacher said he definitely saw it. So a bit of controversy there, that apparently there's a goal kick, hits the ball hits the wire of the camera on the top of the pitch, looking down for close-ups, and then what happened, it sort of bounced and then it got to Bellingham and Bellingham scored. But it's done, you know, there's nothing that can be done about it now. Haaland was carrying an injury. He was very quiet anyway, as he mostly is, to be honest with you. I don't think it's a massive shock at this point that he doesn't really do that much other than score lots and lots of goals. I think it's the first time in something crazy, like 14 matches, he hasn't scored. But yeah, he was carrying an injury, they took him off, and apparently the manager said he should have taken him off about 10 minutes before. And what else happened? Yeah, so Norway were all over them because they had an injury. Well, Rice has been in bed for 3 days injured. Or not injured, unwell. But he played anyway. I think it was a mistake. When they took him off, they put Eze on. And then they moved Bellingham back. So Eze played there and Bellingham played there. And it just took away all of Bellingham's ability to penetrate, get past Kane and into the box. All of a sudden, Norway pushed up. They had chance after chance they were creating. They were playing in this area of the pitch. So then Tuchel decided to change, and he put Eze out here, took Gordon off. Bellingham's played there, and they put Reece James in the middle. Still didn't work, because then Gordon's penetration around the back, who was ripping apart Ryerson, he then left. Although it did get a lot better when Auschnes came on. And I'll talk about Sørloth's match in a second, but oh my god, I just do not rate him at all. I'll get to him in a second. I thought Madueke had a poor game. Saka came on, was brilliant. Eze on the side here just didn't have any ability to get past the now better Auschnes. But then Bellingham was back in the middle, so then Bellingham ended up scoring that off the rebound. Newland goes to catch it, and it bounces again, just like the Belgium match, just into this area here, and Bellingham's on it like a flash, same as Mikel Merino, could have been a striker, and that was it. Sørloth, now I don't rate him at all, and obviously he's not great. He's doing a favour playing out on the wing. He's more of a central striker. But even when he plays as a central striker, he'll either score 4 goals or he'll miss from 5 yards. He is the new Alvaro Morata. And of course, he plays for Atletico Madrid as well as Morata had done in the past. So I don't know what they like about frustrating strikers. Anyway, so his clumsy pass, if I remember correctly, led to the first goal. Then something else. Oh yeah, then he was 2-1-1 with Haaland. Didn't pass it to Haaland, just kind of lamely hit it into the ankles of the only defender in his way. So they could have been 2-0 up. And then just before half-time, he passed it back again, and it was the then ruled offside goal. So everything that went wrong went through Sørloth. And I thought to myself, if he comes out in the second half, bearing in mind that they subbed both the wingers in the previous match, I thought, my goodness, like, and then he turned up in the second half. I thought to myself, oh my god, what is the manager doing? So I think he has an absolutely appalling match, to the point where I think he was actually at fault for the loss in some respects, because Norway were looking quite comfortable at times. But anyway, England, kind of like Argentina, it's going to be very interesting. Have found a way to win without playing that well, and we'll talk about that now. So Argentina beating Switzerland, again this very, very good defence of Switzerland, brave defence. I think I said in my prediction video they would make quarterfinals, and people were going nuts. They were like, you are crazy. I was like, no, you can't score against them. Anyway, it was 1-1 going into extra time, and then with a red card we had this scenario of the mistaken identity. Imbolo had 1 yellow card for a really stupid challenge. Can't remember who was on, McAllister maybe. And in the first half, and then in the second half he dived. It was an absolutely blatant dive, like it was shockingly bad dive. And then they gave a card to Lisandro Paredes, and then they rescinded the yellow card from him, because he was saying to the ref, he was like, mate, I didn't touch him, like I literally didn't touch him. And then they gave Imbolo a second yellow card. He was in the middle of the pitch. I don't even know why he was diving. It was just pathetic. I like Imbolo, but yeah, he didn't help. Anyway, it didn't matter, because Switzerland dug in deep, and they've already got this amazing defence. Undoy, fantastic goal to get the equaliser. There's a rumour going around that Roma are after him, now that the Mason Greenwood match transfer is probably off, and I would be very happy with that, because I think he's a very good player. McAllister with that original header, then Alvarez, who looked superb, and then Martinez with the third goal, when, you know, obviously at that point Switzerland were pushing up and leaving lots of gaps in behind. So it's not really a reflection of I don't think Argentina were 2 goals better than Switzerland, even with 10 men. And if it weren't for the red card, who knows what would have happened. But yeah, Argentina have made it through. But again, made it look more difficult than they needed to. I think, are they trying to entertain us on purpose? So I can't tell what's going to happen in these matches, but here we go. I'm going to try France-Spain. I obviously want Spain in the final. Will they get there? Technically they are rated above France, which I find really hard to believe. They should almost have like a different tier for France's team at the moment, because they are obviously just incredible. I hope it's tight. I can't see France destroying Spain, but this will be one of the first times in the competition that France are going to go up against a team that isn't going to dig in and put 8 men behind the ball. So I don't actually know what's going to happen. France could score 5, but then Spain will have the majority of the possession. It's going to be amazing. It'll be quite... I think it'll be kind of weirdly boring. Oh, I hope not. Okay, so you're probably watching, or you've just watched it, and you're listening to this video now. So I'm going to... There's a couple of different scenarios. Either they'll be so good each that they'll cancel each other out, and they'll be 0-0 and go to penalties, or we'll have an absolute spectacle, and obviously I want that. Could be 3-2, something like that. Because equally, Spain come up against teams that put 8, 10, 11 players behind the ball, and they have to pass it sideways. So this will be a really interesting, because they have very different tactics. Spain are more like pass it around, get it to the wings, and then come back in and make space and get 3 people over to Lamine Yamal, and then Bayern is free, almost being brilliant. Oyarzabal takes up all of the half spaces and makes room for himself, very clever player. Rodri's made more penetrative passes in the entire World Cup than any other player. Yeah, you know, and then obviously Cucurella dives forward, Porro dives forward. But then you've got this lineup at the front here, one of the best international front fours in the world. Yeah, so it's going to be fascinating. I'm going to say my heart says Spain, my head says France. But if we can get a 3-2 thriller, that would be great. Thank you very much. And then talk about thrillers, I think this is going to be a good one. Similarly, Argentina are used to playing lower ranked teams, as we've seen in this competition. In fact, can I prove that? So Egypt, Cape Verde, Jordan, Austria, they're probably the highest ranked, 24th. Hang on a second, where's Egypt? 29th. Switzerland, 19th. Okay, Switzerland's on the highest, 19th. But otherwise they haven't seen anyone, they haven't faced anyone above 19th. Whereas England, they have, let's have a quick look. Norway are quite high up. Oh, they're 31st, Norway, really? Mexico top 10, 14. DR Congo, Ghana, Croatia are 11th. So Croatia are higher, but neither team have come across another team that's in the top 10. So it's going to be fascinating. I think it's going to be a bit grittier. I think the France-Spain match is going to be really pretty. Lots of dribbling, lots of passing, lots of technique. I think this match is going to be crunching tackles, people flying up in the air. We might get a red card or two. It's always a little bit of an event when England play against Argentina. Can either team, yeah, but obviously both teams can win it. It's really 50-50, and I'm kind of a bit stuck on who's going to win it. I don't think Argentina have been playing brilliantly. I definitely know that England haven't been playing brilliantly. Even their manager told them that they haven't been playing that well, which upset Bellingham. And Kane's kind of tried to smooth it over. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Obviously this match is on Wednesday. I won't have a chance to do a second video before the final, which is on Sunday. So I'm thinking it's either going to be, I mean obviously there's 4 combinations. Oh no, is it 4 combinations? So France versus England, or France versus Argentina, Spain versus England, Spain versus Argentina. So I think, so my heart says Spain, Argentina is still on, and I think that would be a really nice final. But at this point in time I'm predicting with my head, and that's saying France against England. I just if France get England, France-Argentina will be interesting because obviously it's a rematch. But France-England, I think England could do it because they've got this level of, well, both teams could, obviously Argentina or England could win it against France, because there's this level of grit about them, and I think that France, that could undo their game plan. It's not that they defend really deeply or anything, but they defend really strongly, and they've obviously got a lot of fast, delicate players. I don't think Dembele and Doué and Mbappe like being kicked, but equally Spain could pass either of those teams off the park. So it really is, like, I can see all 4 teams winning it at this point. I think if you played the final 4 times, you'd have 4 different winners. So I really can't say who's it going to be, but at the moment I think due to the performance throughout the entire competition and the team that they've got, France. Yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think, and please enjoy my frank comments on different performances and whatnot. But yeah, if you disagree with us, absolutely fine. No one's, it's so boring if everyone just agrees with everyone. So please feel free to totally disagree with me in the comment section, but please don't take it personally. And I will see you next time when we will know our winner. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you again really soon. Take care, and we'll start looking forward to the new season, new kits, a review of the transfers and all of that good stuff coming soon. Okay, take care, see you soon.